large parking lot which serves the two structures. The petitioner is looking to expand their use of heavy industrial. A little bit of background, obviously this was part of the Studebaker factory complex going back over a century. About 20 years ago, those buildings were started to be cleared for what has become Ignition Park. Ignition Park came into the city conceptualized as a planned unit development, or PUD, which was a special zoning classification that we no longer do in the city of South Bend. With the new zoning ordinance that took effect January 1st, 2020, all PUDs were assigned a proper zoning district, and this was assigned I industrial as it mostly fit the character. They are already doing this heavy industrial use on the site. They're looking to expand where they have their tanks located right here. This is a shot of as it currently stands. They're looking to expand more tanks in this section, as that is at a increase of the area where they're doing this heavy industrial use. It requires the need to get a new special exception to allow them to continue and expand. Here is where the expansion will take place, as I said, and the petitioner can speak more to the technicalities around it. Here's one last look, and this is all from Franklin Street. The petition is consistent with the city plan, retain existing businesses and recruit new ones to the city. Allowing a heavy industrial use on this site will help retain a business in the city. The proposed use of heavy industrial is consistent with the character of the district in which it is located. This site in particular has been in operation for several years, and allowing the special exception will allow for the building to be used in its intended manner. The staff had a favorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Board of Zoning Appeals is sending it to you as well with a favorable recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and the petitioner is here as well.
Thank you. Is there anything the petitioner would like to add?
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Sexton, the Associate Vice President of Public Affairs at the University of Notre Dame with offices in 405 Main Building. I just wanted to follow up with what staff had to say here. We work closely with the staff to work on the modifications that are being made here and feel that we're doing so. We took some of the considerations that they had, which were, you saw a picture earlier that had arborvitaes that were hiding some fencing. We're going to make sure that those arborvitaes continue to be there to hide fencing that will be moved slightly. But really it is to put the tanks that are on the the east side of the building. We have some additional tanks that are going to come in there at the Notre Dame Turbo Laboratory for us to be able to continue to do some of the research that we're doing at that location. I do have Josh Cameron here, who's the director of Notre Dame Turbo Laboratory, so if there are any questions about what we'll be doing there as far as the research goes, we'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. But we really appreciate your consideration.
Are there any questions from the committee members? Okay, so we will move to the rest of the council. Is there any questions from the rest of the council members? Seeing none, we'll go to the public to see if there are any questions from the public in opposition or in favor of.
There is no one from the public that is expressing interest to speak in opposition or in favor of Bill 14221.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. Back to the council and the committee. Any statements that anyone would like to make? Seeing none. Makes me a little nervous to ask a question. It does sound a little like rocket science, and that's well above my pay grade. So, seeing no questions or statements, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'll make a motion to send Bill 142-21 to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk Jones?
Committee Member White.
Aye.
Committee Member Niskoski.
Aye.
Committee Chair Hammond.
Aye.
3 ayes.
So Bill number 142-21 will go to the
Aye.
committee.
Aye.
Oh, are you on?
Hi, I'm here.
Sorry, we weren't aware that you were present.
Yeah,
You are voting in the
you have four.
affirmative?
You have 4 ayes.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So that will go to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. That being the last item on the agenda for zoning and annexation, we will adjourn.
We stand adjourned to 4:45 for the health and public safety.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, and I had just looked for him, and I didn't see him, so. It's cooling off now.
South Bend Police Chief, 701 West Sample Street. And I appreciate the opportunity here. I appreciate the council entertaining and then hopefully approving this resolution come later on. But there was a lot of work, as Mr. Warner had said. Kylie from the U.S., or for the U.S., from our city attorney's office, she worked diligently on this, along with Mr. Warner and the Mishawaka attorney and prosecutor Ken Cotter. I'm not sure who he had help with him on this, but he had some significant input. I know it's rather lengthy. I don't know what the explanation is from an attorney perspective, but I know I'm comfortable with it, as well as all the attorneys, and especially our city attorney, and the mayor's office was involved with this as well. So the long story short on this, and this is one of my New Year's resolutions, not to take up a whole bunch of time, because I only know you gave me a couple minutes, is we net back to the police department 7 total officers. This is between the disbanding of Metro Homicide and the Family Violence Unit. Recreating this, we have 2 sworn officers at all times that will be at the Family Justice Center, and we pay for 3 positions. We always did that before anyway, so that has not changed. We actually paid for 5 positions, but 2 of those for Metro Homicide we are not paying for anymore, so it's only 3 positions not filled by sworn officers at the Family Violence Unit, plus 2 sworn officers. And then because of the sworn people we had at Metro Homicide and all the sworn that we had at Family Violence, we brought them all back, all but 2 sworn officers into our building, and we had a net gain of 7 officers. Unfortunately, we had to do this. We're not in this alone. Every agency nationally is suffering for lack of officers, and we're definitely not exempt to it. So, I mean, this drastic times, and we had to take drastic measures with that. So I would ask, when it comes to the full council, that you would speak favorably and approve this resolution. And I will answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. And just so that I understand, either way, or assuming that this gets approved, there are 2 sworn officers that will be actually part of SVU, and then the department would provide funding for 3 additional officers.
That is correct.
Okay, so there would be contributions from the city for a total of 5 officers.
Yes, and I think the only operating difference would be in-house, which is what County and Mishawaka are doing as well now. In-house, we will be investigating domestic violence cases. All children offenses and all sexual assaults and greater will be handled by the Family Violence Unit. To note, since we took over, I know this semi-official January 1st, but we've been assigned 45 domestic violence cases, we have closed 43 of those 45, and the other 2 are pending prosecutor review. So just to give you a perspective, we have some very bright and talented detectives who are well-versed in domestic violence situations. We just brought them in-house, and we also have resources in-house. Officers who may be investigating burglaries or larcenies or shoplifts or whatever the case may be are able to help out if necessary. We hope that's not the case, but if needed, they will be there as well. So we have immediate gratification when it comes to additional officers that they're needed.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee? Councilmember White.
Thank you. Chief, I just want to make sure I have a clear understanding. So on the cover Resolution 22-1, it says that the funding will be $297,000 plus some dollars. That's for the 3 officers.
That's for the 3 non-sworn positions, non-sworn South Bend police officers. Now, they will likely be from other agencies or maybe from our own that have retired, but are in good standing. There's another agreement to the side, say perhaps an officer left like in January, like of this year, and decided that he or she wanted to go and work there as a retiree. They could, but it would be an exemption on our part. I would have to give an exemption and be approved through city legal, make sure there's no outstanding litigation or disciplinary issues or whatever before that approval would be made. But they are not sworn police officers in those positions. They would be deputized by the county.
And then you have the 2 sworn officers.
Yes,
For a total of 5?
yes.
Okay.
From South Bend only, and
From
then
South
each
Bend
agency,
only.
yes, each agency will add,
One.
I believe, county has 3 total, and then Mishawaka, I think, is just 1.
Okay. So then South Bend's commitment, we already have 2 sworn, and then the 3, so total 5.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
And then I see, I didn't notice before, and I apologize, Ms. Kylie Connell's on the line. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, nothing additional.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee? And if none, I'll open that up to council. Councilmember Davis.
Chief, question. Well, maybe this is not the time for it. Let me ask a question to you. This is not it.
Question,
Before we adjourn.
okay,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Any other questions from council? Hearing none, seeing none. Attorney Palmer, do we go to the public? Do we need public input for this?
Yes, you do.
Okay, then we will turn it over to the public. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak in favor of Bill 2201?
There's no one from the public that is expressing interest in speaking in favor of Bill 2201.
Is there anybody opposed?
There's no one opposed as well.
Okay, the public portion of this committee is now, of this meeting is now closed. Is there any comments from council before we bring it to a vote?
Can I just ask one clarifying question? In terms of complaints, section 6.03, does this fall within the CRB purview in terms of reviewing possible complaints that might come from the SVU unit, since they are South Bend police officers?
Well, a complaint can come from anywhere, whether it's from the person who oversees right now, it's Commander Amy Bennett. It could come from her, any other employee of the Family Justice Center, any South Bend police officer, any community member. It doesn't matter where the complaint comes from, we would still, depending on the violation, if it's applicable to South Bend or a violation of the county rules or the family justice rules that they have, there's 2 separate investigations that would take place. So the South Bend officers have to follow, first and foremost, our rules, obligations, policies, and procedures, and secondary, they have to follow theirs at the Family Justice Center as well. So anybody can complain, and depending on what that complaint entails, either us or them or both would investigate.
Okay, I'm just wondering if it would require any additional language in the CRB ordinance to encompass this, but we can look at that later, Chief. Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, Chair Wax. I just want to thank all those who were involved in putting together this agreement and the hard work behind that, coming to this cooperative agreement for all of our municipalities. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Just to echo what Councilwoman Richard Thomas Morgan has said, I think last year there was a question of asking if different areas of law enforcement would be willing to work together. So I'm very pleased to see that you guys have decided to do that and creating the SVU unit. So I think this is going to be a positive thing for our community, and again, the rates of things being solved has been pretty remarkable. And thank you for all everybody's hard work on it.
Please.
If I may close out, I know that I'm glad you said that, Pastor Lee, because I will tell you, when this originated a while back, it was based on an MOU that we had to take these measures in the first place. I will tell everybody at the council here that what you see in this MOU right now was one of the 7 recommendations or choices that was given previously. I know that was discovered via the media. I have no problem with that. It probably shouldn't have taken that long, but it did, and here we are. And I know some comments were made about all of this, including Metro Homicide, stating that this is a sad day for our community. You're darn right it is. It's a sad day anytime we have a victim of any crime, not because of a unit or units, but because we have victims and we shouldn't have victims.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank everybody who worked really hard from the county, from the city, from Mishawaka to get this done. This is exciting, and I think it'll be wonderful for our city and community. I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we send Bill number 22-01 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second?
Believe it goes to the full council? Okay. There's a motion and a second. Clerk Jones, could we get a roll call?
Yes. Committee Chair Wax,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Member Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Member Warner.
Not taking a vote on this.
Oh, okay. So you're abstaining? Okay. Committee Member Lee,
Aye.
4 ayes.
The motion is passed. The resolution will, or the bill will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. That concludes the business. Sorry?
Thank you.
Member Davis.
Yeah, sure. I'm not a member of this committee, but I obviously am a member of this common council. I think the question I was getting ready to ask is more appropriately asked at this point. And this is to you as the chair of the Health and Public Safety Committee. I've heard conversations about us being down 30 to 20 officers or 20 to 30 officers. There is a crime conversation that's currently happening, as always. A lot of this is unattractive for the city. We have a county and metro homicide, which is talking about that. What I'm saying is that there's so many other moving parts that are happening. I think it'll be prudent at the end of this, that this council, your committee, to host a discussion on what's happening, where we're headed, future plans as well. I think it'll be a great time for Chief Raskowski to show all the wonderful work that he's doing and then if there needs to be some help, funding for other initiatives or ideas, I think that it will be appropriate time as well to have that discussion. It just seems like that we're picking up our information from the news media about X amount of people have been shot or killed or whatever that may be, and then we get Metro Homicide, and then we get this particular piece of information as well. it's all media driven. We're not getting it here at the council ranks, and I think it would be appropriate that we have an update from law enforcement, even the mayor's office, about how we move forward on how we see our community being safer.
Thank you for raising that. I've been communicating with Chief Ruskowski about when we could get an update, and I'm hopeful within the next number of weeks we'll be able to have an update from him on the department and how it's affecting our community. And I'd be open if you have specific issues or topics that you want to be addressed. Please feel free to send it over to me, and I'll pass it over to the chief, or you could give it to him directly.
Right on. I appreciate that. I think that it's a healthy conversation. I don't think it's unhealthy. I think it's healthy for us.
And that invitation is to all the members of the council. If they have any specific topics that they would like addressed, feel free to send it over. With that, I believe we've concluded the business of health and public safety, and I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to the informal meeting. First, I would like to say that pictures will be taken this evening, individual and as a group today. What time was that? At 6 o'clock. I know dinner will be here at about 5:15, so we'll have time to also have dinner from Panera, since we have pictures tonight right before we go into our first meeting at 7 o'clock. But moving on the agenda, we first have Bill, let me see, that we have an invocation by Pastor Norm Andrews of Grace Point Church. Then the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. We will be reviewing the minutes from the subcommittee from December 13th, 2021 minutes. There are no special business or reports from the city offices. And then we have bill number 13221 that has been continued till February 14th per the petitioner. So in the committee of the whole, we have bill 14221 and bills on third reading. We have the bill number 14221, and then resolutions that we just heard, 22-1, coming out of Health and Public Safety. We also have, and I'll just give you a heads up with information from Bianca to the entire council for us to sign a conflict of interest forms that we have to sign every year. So those are in your mailbox. You also have them via hard copy if you would like. Also, the standing committees that has already gone out and are final for the 2022 year. Although there are still positions for all of the standing committees to have citizens on there, so I'm asking and encouraging if you all are interested in having citizen members on your committees, to reach out to the clerk's office, and we could get that information in for them to fill out an application and go through the proper process. And also, I sent an email out, and I believe we got an invite already from the clerk's office from the Meet the Mayor in Tima South Bend for February the 8th at 6 o'clock at O'Brien Center. The council will have a table. This is an opportunity for us to mix and mingle with the public and have public engagement with the administration and the mayor and our neighbors. So I'm excited and looking forward to what we have coming up for 2022. And I think that the appointments were, it's pretty hard trying to get 11 committees and 9 members in all of them, but I think it's diverse. I think it's a great balance and an opportunity for us to come together and work together as a team this year despite COVID. I think that we will have some challenges. I'm talking to the clerk's office and to Bob and Health Department to see the governor's orders. Are we going to continue in person, or are we going to go back after this meeting virtual? So that information will be coming out shortly as to what we're going to do, because the numbers are continuing to increase. With that said, I just want to publicly say to President White, thank you so much for your leadership and the role that you have played even long before any of us on the council. And thank you so much for all that you do and continue to be with us and helping us along.
but you do have a bill for first reading.
I do have, thank you so much, I sure do.
No problem.
See, that's why I tell you. Thank you so much. So yes, going back to Bill's first reading.
It's right here.
Thank you. We have Bill number 1-22. Appropriating is going to be going to the Personnel and Finance Committee.
Clerk Jones needs to read that first.
Yes. She'll be reading it, and it will be going to the Personnel and Finance Committee. So thank you so much for that. And
What committee is it going
What
to?
date?
I'm sorry.
The date.
What committee, personal finance?
It's going to Personnel and Finance on January 24th. And Councilwoman Hammond?
Thank you, President McBride. I'm wondering if there is any form of outreach we can do to perhaps tap into some folks that have maybe not previously considered being a citizen member on the committees. Is there anything that we have done previously in terms of publicizing that opportunity for the community?
I believe that we have, and I could also have Attorney Palmer or President White speak to it, but I know that as the chairperson of that committee, they are the ones who are the leading force behind that, but it's an effort from everyone, but I don't know if you want to speak to that more.
Press release usually
Yeah.
goes out more than once, encouraging citizens who would like to serve on any of the standing committees, as well as some of the commissions and other committees that we have as well. And we usually send that out at least 2 or 3 times, but I would encourage, again, council members to reach out, especially within your districts or individuals that you know, and encourage them to fill out the application that will be online.
Thank you.
Question, because I had a similar question to that. It seems that we've been doing the same thing over and over again, and we continue to get the same results. I was just wondering, with our creative juices, is there any other way of announcing and pulling in members? This is the reason why I'm asking this question. Every year, the members that are a part of these standing committees, they dwindle off, they stop serving or stop showing up. I've asked about whether do they miss 1 or 2 and then they're done, or they get a carte blanche to just missing everything the entire year and just hold that position or that seat. Legislatively, that needs to change. I think that they should have no more than 3 absences, whole council year, maybe even it's 2. But outside of that, how are we announcing these standing committees being open, right? We're constantly sending out a press release, we get low numbers, and then when we do get the people that want to sign up, they participate for maybe a quarter of the year, and we don't see them anymore. So clearly there is an issue with pulling in the best and those who really want to serve. I know reaching out to people in our community and in our different districts is an awesome way, but uniformity is also a good thing as well. So I'm asking, I'm not saying it because I'm just making a statement, I'm asking, is there any other way that people, members of this council can think of that would be another way, appropriate way of gaining interest from the community about these standing committees?
Thank you for the question, and to your point of questions I believe that you've asked in the past, that I spoke with Attorney Palmer actually this past week regarding changing some of the language or having some language for the people who are serving to make sure that they are, one, if they are serving or have stipulations, if they miss, that would change. So that discussion has already began, so I appreciate your input on that because we are moving forward in that direction to have some guidelines for citizens serving. So that is one thing that we are working on as we speak. And secondly, any suggestions that people have, we can definitely look into it, whether it's Facebook on our council and clerk's webpage, on the different social media sites, and for us to send out email blasts, whatever you guys, information that you have, I'm open to all of that to make sure that we get it out as efficiently and to the community that we can as much as possible, whether it's flyers, However you guys suggest, we would definitely take that.
Do we still have access to showing up to like a WNDU or WSBT to make this pitch to the community? I mean, the last time that a council member been over there is well over a year, maybe 2 or 3 years at this point. There used to be a council member that used to show up maybe once a month, maybe. I'm not necessarily sure what the frequency was.
It was once a month.
It was once a month. Do we have access to that? I'm really trying to help out with expanding the discussion to the community.
We can definitely reach out to Tricia Sloma and WNDU for that. I knew that that's who we were partnered with, so.
Yeah,
can
I
follow
think
up with
that would be helpful, you know, in airing out, hey, we got something that, you know, we want the community to be involved in. Yeah.
Can follow up with that as well. And also, if council members are interested in that, you guys can send me the information, because I do recall when President White, since my tenure being on, and President Scott, when they used to reach out, sometimes getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, some council didn't want to do it, and some did. So that would be great if we could get back on the TV for that. That'd be great.
Yeah, when will the language be ready for that?
We got to get back together. We're still working on that to see how many times and all that stuff. So I can't commit that it'll be this week, but it'll be short form. Since today's the first day of getting it running, I'm sure today was getting it prepared for today, but it will be very shortly.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Thomas Morgan.
Thanks, President McBride. Can the clerk's office confirm that a public notice did go out asking for applications? If so, I missed it. I usually forward it on people,
You
so
said, can we confirm that the press release went out?
yes,
We
with
can send you a
applications,
copy.
it has gone out.
Yes.
I think it was
We sent-
attached to the standing committee, so you probably didn't. It was just talking about citizens, so it wasn't a all-out ask. It was just that the standing committees were named as by statute, it had to go out for releasing.
right,
So it was
yeah.
so it wasn't an all-out ask at this time, but they were on a time limit as well to get the standing committees out.
Okay, but,
But
so
we
a public
sent it out.
notice has not gone out yet requesting applications for citizen members, but it will.
It will
Not
be.
this morning.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions before we adjourn? Thank you so much to the clerk's office as well for your hard work, and I appreciate your patience during this week and assistance.
Good evening, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for the council as well as yourselves. If you would like to speak during the meeting on a specific agenda item, please submit your request in the chat, and directions to do so are in the chat. We ask that you provide your full name and your address, as those are required for all speakers at in-person council meetings. If you would like to be called on during the meeting to provide public input, please insert the following into the chat, and you will be called on during the relevant time for public input during that bill. Again, insert your name and your address, and whether you would like to speak for or against a specific agenda item. Please be sure to unmute yourself prior to giving your remarks. In addition, for citizens that wish to speak during the privilege of the floor, please insert the following into the chat, and the council president will call on you during the relevant time for public input. Again, insert your name, where you live, and please be sure to unmute yourself before speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Such speech and/or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individual, without notice, forfeiting the remainder of his or her allotted time. At this time, we will have the invocation by Pastor Norm Andrews of Grace Point Church. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads. Lord, we thank you for these that have come and have gathered here together to discuss and to navigate the needs of this great city. And we ask that you would fill this room and preside over this place right now as decisions are made. And we ask that your words be our words and that your thoughts be our thoughts. Lord, we invite you to be God of this city, to be Lord of this city. And we seek your wisdom and your counsel here as decisions are made. And right now, Lord, we ask that you bless this gathering and these board members and these council members and these advisors and those that input. Lord, bless their homes, bless their families, bless their loved ones. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Clerk Jones, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Davis,
Henry's here.
Councilmember Lee,
Present.
Councilmember Warner,
Here.
Councilmember Wax,
Present.
Vice President Niskowski,
Present.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Councilmember Hammond,
Present.
Councilmember White, President McBride,
Present.
9 present.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the report from the Subcommittee on Minutes from December 13th, 2021.
Report of Subcommittees on Minutes. To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the December 13, 2021 meeting and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. There are no special business. Also, no reports from any city offices. Now, well, first of all, I would like to make a comment that if there's anyone present for Bill number 132-21, it has been continued as requested by the petitioner until February 14th, 2022. Thank you. Now I will entertain a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor, and it has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion's carried.
Because this is the first meeting of the year,
Then you put your microphone up. Okay.
because this is the first meeting of the year, the city clerk shall read each bill by title only. The chairperson of the council standing committee to which the bill was sent shall give a report on the recommendation from the committee. A formal presentation of the bill shall be made which is not subject to a time limitation. Common council members shall have the right to ask 2 preliminary questions to the presenters immediately following the close of the formal presentation on the bill. Members of the public supporting the bill shall have the opportunity to address the council. Each member of the public shall be required to state his or her name and residential address, or in the case of the proposal made on behalf of an entity other than a natural person or on behalf of a group of individuals, that person or their agent shall state his name and business address for record prior to making remarks in support of the bill. Each member of the public speaking in favor of a bill shall have a limit of 5 minutes. If the formal presentation against the bill under consideration, the person or agent speaking on behalf of such a remonstrance group shall not be subject to time limitation. Therefore, each member of the public speaking in opposition shall be limited to 5 minutes for his or her presentation. Each member of the public shall be required to state his or her name and residential address, or in the case of a proposal made on behalf of an entity other than the natural person on behalf of a group of individuals, that person or their agent shall state his name or her name and the business address for record prior to making remarks in opposition of the bill. Each member of the public speaking in opposition of a bill shall be limited to 5 minutes. The remonstrance period following any formal presentation against the bill under consideration shall not exceed the time used by members of the public who spoke in favor of the bill, or shall be limited to 30 minutes, whichever is greater. There shall be an automatic 5-minute rebuttal period for the persons or persons who made the formal presentation on the bill under consideration, after which the public portion of the hearing is closed. Following the public portion, Then council portion then takes place where members of the council debate, ask questions, make motions on the bill under consideration. Each bill must have a motion addressing the disposition of the bill as it is then sent to the full council for final action. In compliance with the governor's executive order, the South Bend Common Council will be legally held by way of virtual meeting using Microsoft Teams. The committee of the whole notes how residents can participate for the public portion as follows. The public can participate in the meeting by following the directions of the chat section in the Microsoft Teams app at the link provided by the city clerk. Any member of the public wishing to speak in favor or opposition of the bill must indicate their desire prior to the close of the public hearing. And in order to speak in favor or against the bill, you will need to state your name, address, and also required to speak at in-person meetings. The city clerk will inform the chair of the committee of the whole in which order to proceed to address each person and in order with a time limit of 5 minutes. All right. The committee of the whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council's meeting where bills are given a second reading and public hearing. I wish to share with you that bills that will be given a second reading and public hearing have been given a first reading and set for a committee meeting and public hearing prior to this evening's meeting. In addition, you will hear from the chairperson of the committee where the bill was discussed and the results of their discussion. If the proposed ordinance is a zoning ordinance, a report from a staff member will be given. In all other situations, the formal presentation of the proposed ordinance will be immediately followed with the committee report. The formal presentation shall be on time. Bill 142-21. Clerk Jones, would you please give Bill 142-21 a second reading?
Yes. 14221, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 1165 South Franklin Street.
Is there a committee report?
Yes, Chair. This afternoon, Bill 142-21 came before the Zoning and Annexation Committee and comes to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Is there a petitioner present? I ask that you state your name, address, and share with us key points regarding the bill that is before us.
Good evening, Council. Joseph Molnar, Zoning Specialist, offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today is a special exception request located at 1165 Franklin Street in Ignition Park. Just a little bit of background. Of course, this was the land where the old Studebaker manufacturing campus existed. When those buildings were torn down about 20 years ago, Ignition Park began on the site. That was started under a planned unit development, or PUD, which is a zoning classification that allowed for specific items to be approved or not approved. When the city went to a new zoning ordinance in 2020, we did away with PUDs and just assigned them all traditional districts, which now that this land is zoned I industrial. What the petitioner is looking to do is expand the tank area for the turbo machinery lab that's located on the site, and the petitioner can explain more about that if you have any questions. But because they're expanding the current scope of where the heavy industrial use is taking place, and they're expanding it into this area here, it needs the special exception, because anytime you expand heavy industrial use in the city of South Bend, it has to go through this special exception process to make sure that everything clears out okay. The proposed use of heavy industrial is consistent with the character of the district in which it is located. The site has been in operation for several years, and we haven't had any major issues or concerns. The site is currently being used for these purposes and is well established in the neighborhood. The minimal expansion of the footprint of the site to allow for the additional fuel and gas tanks should not adversely affect the use of any adjacent areas. This went to the Board of Zoning Appeals with a favorable recommendation from staff, and then the board sent it to you as well with a favorable recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council members, do you have any questions? Mr. Warner?
I want to make sure so the variances we're looking at are just to have a taller fence, correct?
So-
A 6-foot fence to a 10-foot fence?
So council doesn't deal with the variances. So they did need some variances, which were handled at the Board of Zoning Appeals. Those were approved. I didn't mean to include that in the letter like you guys request. So they did have to do, those were approved. This is the special exception to
Just
allow
a
for the use.
Special exception, okay. Use exception, thank you.
My PowerPoint is freaking out on me, or I would move to the next slide, which shows the fence, but.
No further questions, thank you.
Any other questions from any council members? At this point, we will go to the public hearing portion. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of bill? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, yep. Mr. Petitioner, this is my first day.
And you're doing great. Tim Sexton with offices of 405 Main Building at the University of Notre Dame. I'm here this evening on behalf of the university and as well the property owner. We work closely with the team at Community Investment to put forth the plan that you see today, working with Angela, Tim Cochran, and others, Angela Smith, I should have said. I do have with me tonight Josh Cameron, who's the director of Notre Dame Turbo Lab. So if there are any questions specifically of the layout here and some of the work that we're going to be doing, new work that we'll be doing on that site, we're happy to answer those questions. Yes, Councilman Davis?
He has to recognize me.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you. The irony of this situation, I think it's a great story, right? It's on the same site where heavy manufacturing was really something for us here in South Bend. And so we're back at heavy manufacturing in the same site doing something that is a higher grade of manufacturing on its own, right? I think it's a great story. I really do. I think it's a beautiful story. The question that follows that is, do we foresee manufacturing at some type of comparable rate to what we saw then here in South Bend with something like this? I mean, because you're creating parts, right? You're creating the engine, right? And so those things are used. Would South Bend ever see a manufacturing plant here because of that?
You know, our great hope is that as we continue to do the research that we're doing, that companies are going to want to come and locate here because of the quality of the research that we're doing.
Right.
And so I hope that long-term becomes the case. Just Josh and I Dr. Cameron, we were talking earlier this evening. There's other things that are in the works right now that hopefully will come to fruition that would continue to enhance the work that we're doing down there. I wish I had a crystal ball to say.
No, I mean, it's fine.
But I do think there's great possibilities.
Well, sure. So, because we went to Albany.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So we
Yeah.
went to Albany, right?
Yep.
And so we had this idea of what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
We first started out there on the campus of Notre Dame with the first part.
The mind, yeah,
Yeah.
Midwest Institute for Nanotechnology
Right,
Discovery, correct.
right. And so as it's grown, right, because it's growing,
Yes,
yeah, it's just, I guess it was more of a natural question.
Yeah.
'Cause
No,
you
it's a
get-
fair
get-
question.
Getting excited because you actually get to see it, at the beginning up to the current day, so.
yeah. What we're doing here today is just an enhancement of what we've been doing and taking it to another level.
Good
So,
job.
fingers crossed.
Good job.
Thank you.
Councilman Rachel Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Thank you, Mr. Sexton. Since you both came out of the cold to present to us this evening, would you mind giving a synopsis of the research that is happening on site?
Yes, I'm going to turn it over because I remember your comment earlier tonight. I'm not the person that should talk about that. Dr. Cameron?
These special exceptions actually represent
We need your name and
the
address,
needs.
sir. Your name and address, please.
Yeah, Dr. Joshua Cameron. I'm 50558 Hollybrook Drive, Granger, Indiana, 46530. So This new equipment represents expansion into 2 new markets for the Turbo Machinery Laboratory. Historically, we've focused on what we call aero-gas turbine engines, and now we are moving into hypersonics, which is an exciting new area in aerospace. And the second area is related to the energy sector. So we're going to be studying supercritical carbon dioxide cycles, which have promised to produce energy more efficiently than steam cycles. So these are 2 very new areas in which we're broadening our impact on the industry.
Thank you. Thanks so much. No further questions.
Any other questions? All right. Now we'll go to the public hearing portion. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of Bill 142-21?
I don't see anyone in the virtual audience that is expressing interest to speak in favor of Bill 14221.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of Bill 142-21?
There is no one present wishing to speak in opposition of Bill 14221.
All right, council members. Huh? Okay, all right, thank you, Sheila. If there's no other questions, or no one in opposition or for it, we will now close the public portion of this hearing. Are there any statements from the council members that want to be made?
Just the statement I would like to make, thank you, Chair, is that this is a wonderful opportunity right here in our community to be pursuing this research. And I'm glad to hear the synopsis of what it is that you're doing, and it's very exciting work. So thank you for coming this evening and giving your presentation.
Anyone else? Mr. Warner?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
The motion has been,
Excuse
been
me,
approved.
Chair. Should be motion to send to the full council with favorable recommendation.
I make a motion to send the bill to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
the motion has been, there's been a motion and it's been second. Clerk Jones, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember White, Vice President Niskowski,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
President McBride. Aye. 9 ayes.
Motion is passed. I will entertain a motion to rise from the committee of the whole and report back to the full council.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Clerk Jones, please take the roll. Oh, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Good job. The full council is now back in session. This is the portion of our meeting where bills are given a third reading and action is taken regarding bills that were heard during the committee of the whole. Clerk Jones, will you give Bill 142-21 a third reading?
Yes, 14221, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 1165 South Franklin Street.
Thank you. Councilman Lee, is there a recommendation from the committee of the whole?
It was sent with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion regarding Bill 14221.
Move for passage.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Clerk Jones, by acclamation. No, Clerk Jones, will you take the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Vice President Niskowski,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
President McBride.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Resolutions, we'll move on to this portion of the council meeting where the common council hears bills filed as proposed resolutions. The title of each proposed resolution is read by the city clerk. A report from the committee chairperson of the standing committee to which the bill is referred to for an advisory review and recommendation is then given. Resolution 22-1 comes out of Health and Public Safety Committee. Is the presenter here, Chief Friskowski? I believe he should be online.
Yes, ma'am, I am online.
President,
I'm having difficulties. Hopefully you all can hear me. Scott Ruskowski, 701 West Sample.
I want to, Chief, give me a second.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted
Okay.
to make sure, we've heard that there was errors that people could not get online. That's why the pastor came in today. So I wanted to make sure I heard him, because I also got to finish reading my statement. So thank you so much. During the public portion on each proposed resolution, members of the public are invited to address the council. We ask that you please give your name, address, and comments on the bill. If you have any questions, they will be addressed by the presenter during their rebuttal. Each member of the public is limited to 5 minutes, with those speaking in favor going first, followed by those in opposition, then a 5-minute rebuttal for the presenter of the bill. At this time, is there a committee report?
Yes, Bill 2201.
Clerk Jones, can you give Resolution 0122 a reading first,
Yes.
please?
2201, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving an interlocal agreement between the City of South Bend, Indiana, the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, and St. Joseph County, Indiana, for the mutual operation of the Special Victims Units addressing crimes of special gravity in St. Joseph County.
Thank you so much. Is there a committee report?
Yes, Bill 2201 was heard in Health and Public Safety today, and it was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm still writing. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion. No, presenter. I forgot about you,
President
Chief, that
McBride,
fast.
Bride, if I may be recognized.
Yes, you can be recognized.
Thank you. So in my day job, I took part in discussions and creation of this document and represented a party to the agreement, St. Joseph County Police Department, and therefore will be recusing myself from the vote and abstaining from the vote.
Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the work that you put in with this agreement. We appreciate that. Chief Ruskowski, could you please state your name and address and then begin with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Scott Ruskowski, Chief of Police, South Bend Police Department, 701 West Sample Street. Not so much of a presentation. I've explained in the committee meeting. I was hoping under Health and Public Safety Chairman Wax that he would do the presentation component. However, with that being said, I know it's 19 pages. I apologize, but this is what happens when attorneys get involved. We have 19-page MOUs. On that note, they did a phenomenal job. It was Kylie Connell from the city of South Bend, Troy Warner, as you just heard from the county, and the Mishawaka attorney, and then the prosecutor's office, including the prosecutor himself, were all had significant input in drafting and coming up to the MOU that we currently have right now. I will tell you the long story short is with the dissolving of the Metro Homicide Unit and the Family Violence Unit, we at the police department gain a net total of 7 sworn officers. With that being said, there's really not been that much interruption per se when it comes to our input with the Family Violence Unit. We will still have 2 officers that are sworn that will be stationed there at all times, and then we will be funding 3 positions as we previously did of non-sworn police officers. The officers that came back in-house, the bulk of them are still being used to investigate and bring resolution to our survivors and domestic violence cases. Any sexual assaults, anything against children whatsoever, all is still handled through our Family Violence Unit, just like it is with the other agencies, through the Family Justice Center. And it's not just the attorneys that were involved, or the chiefs or the sheriffs, but probably most importantly, the representatives from the Family Justice Center, Carolyn, and we had YWCA, Child Protective Services, all of them had input. We had several meetings with them. They were able to air their grievances, and more importantly, afterward, were able to give input of how we can really fine-tune this. And especially, again, this is not just the South Bend Police Department. Every agency is experiencing some type of shortfall when it comes to having officers, and this is a national thing as well, and we are not exempt from it. So unfortunately, we had to take drastic measures, and part of the measures was dissolving the Metro Homicide Unit and the Family Violence Unit as it was, but actually revamped and revisited and refreshed, quite frankly, the Family Violence Unit to meet hopefully everyone's needs. And we've been doing well so far since we took over on October 15th of last year.
Thank you so much. Do you have anything to add, Councilman Wax?
No, just to, I guess, give a little bit background on the role. This is an agreement that was prepared between the three parties, Mishawaka, St. Joseph County, and South Bend. What the council is addressing today is a resolution which would give authority for the city to enter into the agreement. And that's what we're here for to discuss.
Thank you so much. With that, I would turn to council, asking if there are any questions at this time.
I would just repeat my question to the chief that I asked this earlier today. Just so that we all understand, the agreement would call for South Bend Police Department to provide 2 uniformed officers and then to provide funding for an additional 3 officers. So South Bend's contribution to SVU will be the equivalent of 5 officers. Is that correct?
That is correct. It'd be 2 sworn police officers and 3 funded positions that would not be sworn City of South Bend police officers. However, they are typically and would be deputized either through the sheriff or through the prosecutor. That's how it has worked for several years now, and that is going to continue that way as well. Mrs. President, I actually was remiss because I think Kylie is on the line because she may have input as well. If need be, she's the attorney for the South Bend Police Department through the City of South Bend.
Thank you for that, Kylie. If you're there and would like to speak, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Kylie Connell, 53167 Meadowgrass Lane. And I don't have much more to input, just that we're excited for the interagencies to continue working together. We're hopeful for the resolution and for the impact on the community.
Thank you so much. At this time, I would turn to the public portion. Clerk Jones, you see anybody in the public portion wishing to speak in favor of Bill 22-01?
There is no one from the public that is expressing interest to speak in favor of Bill 2201.
That's virtually,
Unless,
yes.
Troy Warner, offices inside the St. Joseph County Jail, 401 West Sample Street. This structure and agreement isn't anything new. The Family Violence Unit has been in place since 1997. This is just kind of a refresh and a reshaping and a little bit of a shrinking of it due to staff shortages. On behalf of the sheriff, I thank the mayor and chief and Kylie and Prosecutor Cotter for coming together many months ago. These discussions started kind of in early summer to find a way to be able to get these victims of these most serious crimes to be investigated in the Special Victims Unit where the service agencies are on site and can provide the support that they need. Chief mentioned the Family Justice Center, the YWCA, and the Casey Center are all integrally involved in the process and the operations of the Special Victims Unit. And we're very fortunate as a community to be able to have that to continue.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this bill?
There is no one from the virtual public that's wishing to speak in opposition of this bill.
Thank you. At this time, the public portion is closed. I will turn back to council. Any additional comments? Councilman Lee?
I would just like to say that it's with all of the issues that we have to deal with in the community, seeing our Mishawaka, South Bend, and St. Joe County police departments working together to handle these special victims unit is a step in a very good direction, and we're looking to see that people are receiving the services that they need and with the social services around. It's a good thing for our community. So thank you to everyone involved who worked hard to make this happen, because our residents are our highest priority, and being able to service them in the best way possible is what's needed in this time. So thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you. Councilman Wax?
I think Councilman Lee said what I wanted to say just a whole lot better than I would have said it. I just want to thank everybody involved. It's such an important issue, and to have the various departments work together towards a common goal where they could best provide and help and these individuals and families that need this help so much, and to work on this together. It's really heartening, and I'm really happy that we got here, and I'm be happy to support it.
Thank you. Councilman Davis?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Great job, Troy, and all to the others that worked on this. Good job, Eli, for the meeting this afternoon. I do have a question, but I don't think the one needs to answer this. This is almost rhetorical, just something that just came up. Given what has happened to our police departments and given to what the partnership that Kenneth was speaking of, and as well as Troy, it begs the question about a metro police department, and if that is a part of the discussion. We're short on officers. Everybody needs the help and support. Obviously, we're kicking in here, smaller department, right? But the idea of a metro police department really starts to make a lot of sense right now, unless we're talking about cross-training people. Just an idea, just a thought, but it did come up because I heard what Troy was talking about. Great idea, great partnership, so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? At this time, I would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 22-01.
I move for the adoption of Resolution 22-01.
I second.
Thank you. Clerk Jones? Call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
I abstain.
Councilmember Wax?
Aye.
Vice President Niskowski?
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
President McBride?
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 extension.
Thank you. The bill has been adopted. Bill's on first reading. Clerk Jones, could you give Bill 22-01 a first reading?
Bill 2201, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $2,500,000 from South Bend's American Rescue Plan, Fund Number 263, for premium pay for eligible employees performing essential work pursuant to federal guidelines under the American Rescue Plan Act.
Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to send Bill 22-01 to Personnel and Finance and Public Hearing and third reading on January 24th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. This time, we will turn to unfinished business. The standing committees, if you did not get a copy and wanted a hard copy, we have the lists over on the kiosk on the desk. And again, I would say that it's one of the most challenging things, I believe, with the 11 standing committees that we have, is assigning people to committees that they asked for. There were people who did and some people who did not. So try to get a good balance for people to have a good team, for us to work together and to make sure that we're moving the business further. So I thank you all for the input and the roles that you are undertaking, and I look forward to that. I would also like to encourage everyone, again, we will be looking at different means. I know Clerk Jones said that she could put out for citizens information also in the water bill as well, and there have been other opportunities and people came with ideas, so we will be trying to do a blast out for mailers to get citizens more involved with that process. Secondly, the mayor's office is planning the second round of the quarterly events for the Meet the Mayor and Team of South Bend. The date is February the 8th from 6 to 8 at O'Brien Center, and the council will have a table that evening. So just wanted to give an update. And also, the clerk's office sent us all a conflict of interest statement that we have to sign every year routinely. So if you can sign that and send it back to the clerk's office, they would appreciate that. Is there any other unfinished business by anyone in the council?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
But Sheila had her hand up. Ladies first.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. I just wanted to make for the public record that I have filed my conflict of interest statement with the clerk's office this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, President.
Councilman Davis?
Yes, thank you. We talked about the media thing earlier, and I just wanted to make sure that we were still there and making sure, when will we hear back about the thing with WNDU or said station?
I'll reach out to Tricia Sloma this evening, so I'm sure tomorrow sometime we will hear.
Okay, great. And the second thing is that, and I don't know the steps for this, but I'm going to ask because I think that this is a real thing. The water bills and the water shut-off, pandemic, when do we start having a discussion about the delinquency of these water bills? How many people are behind? If we do restart our enforcement of it, how many people will be shut off? Or maybe this is indefinite, I don't know, but I know it's been well over a year. And so you're talking about the level of collections. Utilities is my committee. I will be bringing this forth, but I'm putting it out there on the table. If somebody has better information than I have right now, you feel free to speak. But I think that that's a real issue, and it's coming up, well, it has come up, so. I don't know, I don't know what anyone's appetite on it is, but water shutoffs is a really big thing.
I think those are good topics, and I think if I'm not speaking out of line, being that you are the chair of the Utilities Committee.
Yes.
I definitely feel it would follow under your purview, and any support that you would like, let's get it. But I think it's prevalent now, and if you would like an update or for it to come before council, I think that would be great for you to reach out to have them make either an update to us or to you, or however you would like to lead that.
Sure, and if there's any other council member that thinks that, this is a necessary conversation, I'll be interested in hearing from you. Email me, call me, it doesn't matter, just communicate, and we can all put it together. I think that impacts everybody, every single one of us.
Absolutely, thank you. Ms. Hammond?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that the county is winding down their ERP program to assist people that need help with delinquent rent payment and those types of things. There's about another week or so before they move that to downstate. So if you have anyone in your districts, or if anyone knows of anyone that still needs to file an application, this would be the time to do that.
Is there a link or any information that you could share?
If you contact the auditor's office.
Thank you.
I can send out a link.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any new business? Well, that was, I guess, unfinished and new business. I will move at this time to the privilege of the floor. Again, disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Any speech or actions or verbal attacks on any person may result in individual without notice, forfeiting the remainder of his or her allotted time. Individuals who wish to address the council must state their name and residential address. Individuals will be limited to 3 minutes only. The maximum time limit for this portion of the meeting shall be 30 minutes. Individuals should not be permitted to address topics which the council has heard previously on tonight's agenda. The council president may assign a topic raised by an individual during the privileges of the floor to the appropriate council member and/or request the city clerk to contact a member of the administration for review, and topics assigned shall be responded to at the next scheduled council meeting. Clerk Jones, or there's anyone wishing to speak in the privilege of the floor?
There is no one in the virtual audience that is expressing interest to speak in privilege of the floor.
Thank you. With that said, this meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
Thank you.
This computer.